course, the festive Fireside chats. That means that, well, we'll be a bit more lenient when it comes to topics and things like that. If you want to come on, if you want to have a chat, the best way to do it is to go to the TEC Hub Discord, which you can find under this video right now, and pretty much just go on there and check news and announcements, see the people who you need to DM to come on, and you can set that up so you can come on. Now, obviously, if you're watching this on YouTube, the Fireside chat has already happened, and the only way that you can get on the next one is either being on the Discord to know when it is, or checking out the Twitch channel, which, of course, will also be in the description of the video. So, therefore, if you want to come on next time, make sure that you do all of those things, and we have our first person to actually chat to today to see what is going on. But as I said, if you want to come on, make sure to do. And by doing that, it means that you can basically get your voice heard, get your opinion out there, and get your thoughts sorted out. So the first person that we have on today is Sith, or Festive Sith as he's known right now. How are you doing today, Sith? How is life?
Oh, I'm not doing too bad. Tech, how are you doing? Good to be here once again.
Yeah, I'm doing all right. Pretty much just setting up to do my naval tasks. Should be pretty easy to do. Just gotta
yes.
Get
the
that
two
stuff done.
Totally unique ships.
Well, they're unique enough, and
yeah, they're something, all right.
Anyway, what is the question or query or thoughts that you want to bring upon us today? What's going on in that old mind of yours?
Gaming and how it has affected us over the years.
Okay, it's quite a broad topic, so how about you start? What are your opinions when it comes to it?
Well, I think it's affected us in a very positive light, especially with games such as Halo, COD, and stuff like that. Because although people think it makes people violent, on the other hand, it could increase reaction times and stuff like that. So you have people being able to have their reaction times increased and all that gubbins, and yeah. So there's also a positive. It's also allowed people to build new communities. So you have, for example, the War Thunder community, a bunch of people, and I don't even think, for example, Discord would have existed without video games. But you have people like, War Thunder community, where you've got, people like in the Tech Hub, how we all have conversations now, we've all encountered each other. Then you have people like people like the Halo community and many more different communities.
Yeah, for me personally, when I think about it, so gaming in general is a nice hobby. It is amazing how it has grown over the years, and it seems to be just getting ever bigger every year. If you look at the amount of revenue that's in it, you look at the amount of companies that are trying to get into it, and also the countries that are trying to get into it, and the social aspect that you talk about is obviously very important within that. And one of the things that we constantly get told all over and over and over again is that there is a real issue with I don't know what you call it, antisocial stuff when it comes to younger generations, where you have more phones, you have more access to stuff, but what you find out is people are actually becoming more insular. Now, for me, that's really not what I've seen, and that's pretty much because of the gaming stuff. How people, I don't think, they may be in, let's say, public life, being more insular and being, just not really doing a lot. But when it comes to like the online life, that's where they are truly expressing themselves. And I think gaming has definitely helped people express their true selves. Now, whether that is a good thing or whether that is a bad thing, we'll have to see. But the main thing for me is that it gives people at least a platform to be able to talk about stuff they want to talk about in a setting which is neutral, which is something we haven't seen in a long time.
Something else I've also seen quite over the years is how gaming has evolved. Because, for example, I've got a mini NES and a mini SNES, so these are two systems that allow you to play a large variety of old Nintendo games, ranging from the NES and the SNES, of course. And you go from, 8-bit to 16-bit, and then you go up with the N64 to 64-bit, and then you go to the GameCube, where things are looking much better, and then with the Wii, the Wii U, and then to games that are being run on 1080p and 4K nowadays. It's amazing to see how far gaming has come, especially with the resurgence of VR, considering that first tried to make its appearance in the 90s with stuff like the Virtual Boy. However, now it's making a somewhat resurgence, and whilst it might be quite niche at the moment, I think it's finally got the foothold it needs, considering the technology has been developed better. So it's just interesting to see where gaming will go in the next 10, 15 years.
Oh, I'm sure it will be, and yeah, when you think about 10 years ago compared to now, we have had insane advancements and at least efficiency when it comes to electronics. For me, when I look at new technologies like VR, though, I think personally they're quite a long way off, and the main thing is, at least from my point of view, it's the sickness that I personally get from it is something that needs to be fixed. Like the actual movement itself makes
Yeah.
my body, physically sick, which is a problem. The
Oh, yeah,
the other
definitely.
thing as well is the cost. The cost is way too high right now, but that is something which hopefully will change in time. But yeah,
I
it
have
is.
confidence that it will change in time, considering VR is still very new at the moment.
It
I
is.
mean,
I don't know. I mean,
well,
VR's
it's
been
not
around
very new.
for about 50 years at this point.
It's very niche. It's very like VR in the sense of like the Oculus Rift and all that is very very niche at the moment, and it's still quite new in terms of they're still trying to develop the technology. And I definitely think that the cost I think in a few years it will become more common, and I think that will cause the price to start to decrease. Considering if you look back to other consoles, when they've been, just new and bought out, they are insanely expensive. But after a few years, they start to trickle down in cost. I mean, back in a few years ago, it would cost you quite a few £100 to get yourself something like a GameCube, for example. Now you can get one cheap for about £40.
Yeah, I would agree, but the Oculus Rift has been out for how long?
I don't even know that myself.
It has been
It's
out
been a few years.
since 2012, and it was acquired by Facebook in 2014. So it's been about five years since its initial, I suppose you call it, release date of the headset, and the price
Yeah.
has not gone down. So yeah, it's just I hope the technology gets there. I don't personally, see it getting to a place where it's for everyone. Because the other thing is you need a space, right? Like
Yeah.
and
I
as
don't think it ever will be for everyone, to be honest. I still think it's very, very niche because how gaming is at the moment, it's an escape.
hmm,
And whilst that is, that kind of escape is appealing to, let me think how to put this, to certain people, like, go into a virtual reality. To others, it's just not that kind of thing. It's like some people prefer platformers, some people prefer FPS games, and some people are gonna enjoy that.
oh yeah, like for me it's everybody's gonna have their thing that they like, and I'm sure there will be people who like stuff like VR. But I think the next step in, let's call it, gaming in general is not going to be based around VR. I think it's much more going to be
Oh,
around.
definitely.
It's going to
Standard
be
consoles.
well. It's going to be around when everybody decides to unify their ideas in consoles, and then that becomes like the next thing. So when people
Yes.
realize that, like we're already seeing it right now with Xbox, right, with the Microsoft Store, where
Mm.
you can pretty much get the majority of Xbox stuff on PC now. And
Yeah.
I think that's what'll just keep happening. Like it'll just keep pushing further and further to PC because it's really, really hard to what's the word? It's really, really hard to compete with it, because
Yes,
if you don't like it, you
definitely.
can just change it, and you can't really do that with consoles. But we'll see.
Yeah. Something else that I've noticed as well is that I think there needs to be, in terms of VR and stuff, I think that a lot of people have the misconception that it will evolve to be like something you see in animes, like Sword Art Online, where you just lie down and bip, all of a sudden you're in a complete alternate reality. I that's not going to happen. I mean, unless you want your alternate reality to look like VR chat constantly, which would be a nightmarish and hellish domain. But other than that, I definitely think that PC gaming, especially, is going to be one of the major ways forward, again, for the reasons that you've stated. However, something else as well is I think that the company Nintendo, because of because of what it's done with the Nintendo Switch, especially considering it's an interesting console, considering it's handheld and a home console at the same time. So I think that Nintendo and PC gaming is gonna skyrocket and stuff. But I honestly feel as though Sony and Microsoft with consoles at the moment might be getting put in the dust because their consoles are so bloody expensive but aren't as unique.
I personally have no faith in Nintendo. I don't know. Like, the thing is, right, so when I was younger, I never had a Nintendo console. I never had a Nintendo game, so I'm not really jaded by those ideas. But when
I
I
grew up in
think
a house with Nintendo and Microsoft consoles, but yeah.
every time I see Nintendo, what I see is they have something that's really interesting and okay, and then the next thing they do is really awful. So we can see this with their consoles over and over and over again. Wii U is the easiest example.
Yeah.
Then all of the DSs, which the majority are just very similar or the same to each other, and they're just basically just farming money from people. And we're seeing it now with the Switch, where we're getting different versions of the Switch, which are incredibly similar to each other. Compared to other stuff. And when it comes to the idea of a portable like games console, which is also a stationary games console, I think it always loses, just because of the fact that you will never be able to get enough power onto it. You will never be able to get enough power onto it for it to be interesting and useful in a home concept, to also rival other stuff that you can have at home. So instead of just buying a Switch that can be on the go and, also at home, why wouldn't I just buy a home console and then a phone, which I'm going to need anyway, because, everybody needs phones to be able to communicate, and phones are getting more and more and more powerful as it goes along. There's probably some phones out there which have the same or more power than a Switch, which is a little bit crazy when
To
you
be fair,
think
I
about
think
it.
there's some phones that have already far surpassed that kind of technology at this point.
Yeah, I mean, when the first Switch came out and I looked at its specs, I was actually really disappointed.
Yes,
Uh,
the sacrifice that it made was it's really unique in the sense of being handheld and home console. But again, the only issue, well, one of the setbacks that is the specs compared to the other consoles at the time.
yeah. Yeah, for me, I also, as you say, Nick, I do appreciate them trying new things, but the issue is it only takes a few flops in a row, and then they're really struggling, and we
Yeah.
nearly saw that with the Wii U. So yeah,
Yeah, that was an experience, all right. I must say, as someone who had the Wii U, yeah, it was an experience. Wasn't exactly positive one. The Wii was a great experience, although the motion sensing was quite biffy at times. The Wii U was just well, it existed, and then you have the Switch, which is the current console. And thought is, what's the next step for them, or will this be it for them?
I don't know. I definitely think Nintendo has a lot of stuff to go on. I'm more, as you said, I'm more interested in what Sony and Xbox do. Like, Xbox are pretty much just, in their announcement, they have pretty much just announced a PC. Um, and everybody's going, oh, look at this new innovation. Look, you can take it apart. You can put new things in. You can upgrade it. It's like, yes, it's a PC. It's just a pre-built PC. Like, that's what you've created here. And then Sony as well. We're gonna have to see what they do. I just wish. The only reason now that I can see to buy a console is if you want a cheap DVD or Blu-ray player, or if you want to play the exclusives, right? Like that.
Yeah.
That seems to be the two things. And at some point, the PC market is going to be too big for people to pass it up for exclusives, or just the idea of exclusives is just going to be way too more expensive, and we'll actually see PC companies or people, companies that go towards PCs, challenging for those exclusivities instead. Like, think about Epic Games, right? Like, Epic Games has been in the market for a long time for buying exclusivity for games, to promote their platform, which, whether you agree with it or not, that's, not the discussion. The discussion is they're doing it, and what's to stop them saying to the God of War guys, hey, we're going to buy out your studio, you're going to make God of War games exclusively for the Epic Games Store, and yeah, we're just going to give you a bunch of money, and we're going to steal that market from Sony, the God of War market.
Yeah, it's certainly something that could. That's certainly something that can happen.
Oh yeah, you're right, Doug.
Yep.
Even the DVD and Blu-ray player, it's gone away in the Xbox One S. So yeah,
Yeah, that
even
is
that's gone.
certainly something that can happen, especially with the I definitely think the PC market will continue to grow, and it is quite interesting. So I didn't really, I only saw the Xbox thing. I didn't read too much into it, but if it is, as you say, just a pre-built PC, then well, the PC master race marches on.
The thing is, we don't have a ton of details about it, but the way that they
Have
described
marketed
it, and yeah, the way that they described it, and the way that they're advertising it, it just is a PC. So yeah, it's I don't know what else to say about it. I'm interested to see what games it'll have, and the last time they had that, they had a system like it, right? The Xbox, they tried to market it as a media system, which was interesting. So I'm wondering if they're gonna do the same thing with this. We'll have to see.
So something I can definitely see with that kind of market, if they do end up if it is similar in the sense of a PC, which we don't know yet, but if that's how they're marketing it as, and if it does turn out to only be able to play certain exclusives as well as their other store, surely it would be better to just buy a PC, considering you can get a far wider selection of games on there in general. And it appears that, well, we don't know what the PlayStation 5 is going to be yet, but if they take a similar approach there, surely that would, surely it would just be more logical to get yourself a PC.
Well, it would be, but the only issue with that is cost, and that has been the thing that consoles have been able to do for a long time, which PCs have struggled with. Like if I was talking to somebody and they had I don't know, $1,500 or even $1,000, and they wanted to create a gaming system, you'd buy a PC every day. But because the consoles, at least the Sony one, I'm not sure about the Xbox one, but the Sony one is a loss leader. That means that they can always undercut PCs to be able to to be able to sell their consoles. So yeah, it just means that it's cheaper for the average person, and a lot of people, they don't want to spend a ton of money on a gaming PC, or they don't want to have to buy like all the extra things like controllers, keyboards, extra storage, and think about all that stuff. So yeah. Ooh, mega bumped it. I'm okay.
Yeah, the thing with PCs compared to consoles is is that interchangeability though, and if Microsoft is basically doing a PC, if that is a massive if here, and if there is interchangeability and their customization ability, that word, um, then I think that they could really hit a big market there, considering it would be a much cheaper way to have a decently powerful system.
Yeah, and as Dog points out, like the consoles are also extremely cheap on resale websites. Yeah, they are, and so are a lot of the games as well. So it
Oh
means
yeah.
that if you need a if you want to like get a present for someone, or if you want to, maybe you're a university or a college student, it's really easy to pick up a console, and easier to transport it as well than a PC. The other thing as well is so something that I've been doing recently. So my father, he's turfing out a bunch of old stuff, and he doesn't want to throw away our like childhood things, because I don't know, he would feel bad if he did it. So what he's doing is he's sending basically our old our old stuff to us. So he's sending me like a bunch of old Xbox 360 games and PS2 games, and a bunch of like Beanie Babies as well, to give out to people. And the thing is, like, I was looking up how much an Xbox 360 is now, and they're so cheap, even from places like Amazon. Like it's about 50 quid, I think, to be able to get one, which is just crazy compared to the amount of money you had to spend, back in the day for them. So it's definitely a cheaper option for people, and also a more mobile one, which is probably why the Switch has done so well, even though it's got a very
Yeah.
limited portfolio.
Yes. Something else I'll definitely say though is it could be worse with the DS and stuff. It could be how the PS Vita's turned out.
Yeah, that was kind of sad because I kind of like the PS Vita. I also really like the
They
PSP as well.
Yeah, they were a craze for a very limited time.
Mm. Yeah,
I will honestly, if I remember correctly, it was only a few months that they were the big craze, and then they just died out.
have you been playing the new Pokemon game?
No, I don't. My little sister's getting them for Christmas, and I'm not really a Pokemon fan. I'm more into the Mario games.
That makes sense.
Yes.
Because I've been watching a bit of that, and it looks pretty fun. But at the end of the day, like it's maybe this is the problem I have with Nintendo. Like it's still Pokemon.
Yeah,
It
they
hasn't
will milk.
it hasn't the main story has not changed in what 20 years, I think.
Yeah. To be fair, the main story with Mario has changed ever so slightly. In some games, Bowser Jr. kidnaps the princess.
Yeah,
In
exactly.
some games, it's in space.
Yeah, it's just a different setting. Yeah,
Yes,
it's
and different mechanics and stuff. It's definitely a formula that works well. I mean, it obviously does. It brings in quite a bit of revenue for them.
yeah.
Hang on a sec. Sorry. The It's it's definitely something that works. Say it's got in a lot of money, and it's always exciting to see what the next big game is from Nintendo, since they're such well-known franchises and are quite easy to get into. I mean, the Mario games are mostly just platformers and party games and Smash. Oh my god! I swear to God,
I mean,
that epic that gamer moment when you tell someone you're streaming, so they decide to shout up.
but the so the other thing as well is like maybe it's just got to the point where our living conditions don't really call for certain gaming platforms, but maybe other people's do. So if you don't have a ton of space, and if you are out on the move a lot, something like a Nintendo Switch is perfect. Like if you have a job that makes you move around a lot, or maybe you don't have stable living conditions, something like a Nintendo Switch is perfect.
Hmm.
But if you are pretty much set in your ways and you're not really going to move too much, maybe it's not the best deal. Or maybe you have a long commute to work on public transport. Like, I can definitely see areas where it's useful for people. I don't know. It just, for me, I don't think it's really the future. I think we're going to have systems which are much more just tailored towards stationary gaming because they're just the easiest way to do things. And that's why another reason why VR just seems a little bit odd to me.
Yeah, it's definitely VR is definitely one of those things where if you're not planning to move anywhere for quite a few decades, you should probably have, if that's your sort of thing. But yes, definitely different consoles appeal to different people for different reasons.
One thing that's interesting and has been brought up quite a bit is something that Anton said. And
Go on.
it was the idea that they're screwing around with a Switch dev kit for War Thunder. Do you think it could work?
It's. I don't think there's enough buttons. I do not.
Yeah.
It's difficult to say. I mean, how are you going to do War Thunder with a motion controls?
Well, how many buttons are on a Switch?
Right, you've got the two. You're looking at about 12 buttons.
12.
Six
Okay.
for each Joy-Con. 14 if you have them detached.
So it's probably more than a controller, right?
Uh, Probably.
So I think there's a
There is,
chance.
yeah. It would be damn interesting to see a to see a Switch version of War Thunder. I wonder what the Air exclusive version of the XM1 would be, considering there's only two prototypes built.
Well, what we've also seen is like in recent years, right? So looking at certain statements that have been made by certain companies and also other companies as well. So we know that mobile gaming is huge.
Yeah.
Because pretty much everybody has a phone, and also in Asia, it's just absolutely massive.
Oh
It's
yeah.
just insanely large. So what we also know is World of Tanks Blitz has become a pretty good success of a game. If you look at its where it is on Steam charts, if you look where it is on other services, it's pretty high. And then when you look at the fact that Crossout was announced earlier this year, when it came to I can't remember what the Chinese company is called, but the Chinese company.
Tencent.
No, it wasn't Tencent. It was another one.
No, fair enough.
So they announced earlier in the year, in like February or March, that Crossout Mobile was being made in collaboration with Gaijin. And now the same company has also partnered up with Gaijin in an IPO, which is kind of odd. But at the same time, it could easily mean that they're not just doing the Crossout Mobile; they might also be doing the War Thunder stuff if they're going to have that close of a collaboration. So I think there is definitely room for something like that on Switch. I just don't think it will be the same version of War Thunder that we see now.
Yeah, yeah, I could just imagine that you're on your phone and all of a sudden you throw it into the. You're on the bush, you're on your phone, and all of a sudden you chuck your phone on the ground and stomp on it. Why? Because you've just been team killed by a PE8.
Yeah, yeah, that would
I
just
can.
suck.
Yeah, it's War Thunder on the go. That sounds a lot like the DS version of IL-2 Sturmovik that I have, and that's an experience. Yeah,
They did a
they
DS version of IL-2?
Yeah, I've got it. It's one of their versions of standard Birds of Prey. It was for the Nintendo DS. You have certain missions, and I must say, it controls terribly.
God, that's so
And
weird.
they're quote unquote that they have missions where you have to destroy vehicles and stuff on the ground, but they only give you stuff like the duck and the lightning. You're expecting me to kill tanks with a 20 mil?
Yeah, that is
Seriously,
kind
you
of
will
weird.
expend all your ammo before you can even kill a tank.
I still think that there's definitely room for like a War Thunder mobile though. I'm just not exactly sure how it would work. It would
That would
have to be a
scare me.
different game, and also the problem that mobile has, and this is a problem that World of Tanks Blitz has run into, is that you have people with very high end PCs playing it and pretty much getting a massive advantage over other people. Well, I suppose in War Thunder. Like, I suppose we already have that when it comes to, like, PC versus console, especially if people are using controllers. Like, I don't know if you've ever tried to use controllers, to play War Thunder, but my
No.
god, like, it's just a different experience.
I
Like,
mean,
it's so much harder.
some people like Terry on this Discord, they can make it work, but I suppose that's because they've ground out the entire game from console and only console.
Yeah. Yeah,
You know, it's,
yeah, there's
it's
definitely people
yeah.
who are more dedicated than me when it comes to that.
Yeah, that would be yeah, I mean, I use a laptop with a portable mouse because you trying to use the mouse pad on this thing is an absolute curse. And I really want to, at some point in the next couple of years, start building up a proper PC.
Oh
But who
well, I'm
knows?
sure when you get settled
Yeah,
you'll be able to. Like I mean,
yeah, but
the only time I
yeah,
properly got a proper PC is when I was basically out of university. Like
yeah, but
that was when I
I mean,
changed over to laptops.
yeah, I mean,
Sorry, from laptops.
who knows? Maybe if Microsoft's new console is what people are speculating it to be, I could just slap in a mouse, slap in a keyboard, and play the Xbox version of War Thunder.
Yeah, maybe, and then you'd have to create a new account and lose all your progress. So,
Yay! Or
so
I could.
that'll be fun.
You can't link an account backwards, can you?
Um, what do you mean?
Isn't there that thing where you can just like link your account so you don't lose any progress,
You
or is that
can you can link your Xbox account to PC,
but not
and
the other way around?
yeah, and you can play it on PC. But if you want to fully transfer it, then you run into a few problems.
Damn. Oh, curses. That means I can't play the mighty XM1 Chrysler.
No,
Uh,
no, no, not yet. Or maybe in the future. Who knows? Might just
yeah, maybe
get
in the
bored and
future.
create a new account.
Yeah, yeah, just, I'm tired of grinding out all the top tiers. I want to completely start again.
Yeah.
No, I'm not that much of a masochist somehow.
Right.
Um,
Anyway, Sif,
yes.
it's been a good chat. It's been maybe about 30 minutes, 35 minutes. So,
Oh,
uh,
yes. Bloody hell.
do you have any final thoughts or comments or anything you want to say
Just
before you
for
go?
everyone to have a good Christmas, have a safe Christmas, and remember to stay hydrated. And as you said on the announcement, if you don't have water, alcohol's a good second.
Thank you, Sith. As always, a
Have a good
pleasure
one.
to have a chat. And yeah, I hope you have a good one too. Have a Merry
You
Christmas,
too.
Sith.
Thanks for having me.
It's always nice chatting to Sith about stuff and making sure that everything is going well with him and also going well with other community members. As I said before, the whole point of the Fireside chat is to get you guys on and just pretty much have a chat about anything you want. This is the festive episode, so, we don't need to specifically talk about War Thunder. We can pretty much talk about whatever you feel like, whatever's really on your mind. Might be worth staying away from certain topics, but you know how it is. Anyway, so let's get the next person in, and the next person is good old Matrix. So Matrix has pulled the admin card, so he gets to come on first.
Actually, I didn't pull the admin card.
oh,
The lone
Jesus.
wolf guy actually said he went to go do something for a moment. He said he'd be back in a few minutes. So
Oh, there you
he's
go.
not ready to go.
Anyway, how are you, Matrix?
So I figure I'd come in here and steal a couple minutes of your time while lone wolf. He went to go do something. He said he'd be back.
Fair enough.
Okay, so one of the things I wanted to talk about, the big topic, I'll mention in a moment. But the first thing, let's mention just the Discords and how things are going now. So Fireside Chat, let's talk about how's the progress going in growing in size? How are we doing?
I mean, to be honest, like we're pretty much at 6,000 members right now, and it has definitely. I'd probably say stagnated's the wrong word, because we're still getting a lot of new people in the voice chats. We're still getting a lot of new people in the text channels. But if you're looking at an overall population point of view, it seems to be tapped out right now at about 6 grand, and the only way that we can change that is some stuff probably coming into the new year. But it's still the most active War Thunder Discord. It's probably one of the most active places for War Thunder when it just comes to kind of media centers in general. And it's just really nice to see, and it's just from looking at other Discords or looking at other TeamSpeaks, I don't ever see 10 to 20 to 15, even 5 people in rooms chatting with them, unless it's like squadron channels when they've got a squadron battle going on. So for me, I'm still very happy that it is a place that people come to chat, and I'm sure that'll stay the same going forward.
Okay, how are your squadrons doing? The TEC ES, the elite squadron, and then the TEC Warrior squadron. How are they doing?
I think overall they're doing pretty well. The problem is that we're having is they don't really have anything to do. So we're not active in squadron battles, because at least from my point of view, I think they're kind of a waste of time. What you get out of them compared to what you put in. And the main reason why TEC ES was set up was for World War Mode, and we haven't heard about anything World War Mode wide for a long time. So we're just kind of waiting for that to happen. TEC WS though, as long as they're both hitting the 20Ks on the squadron activity, for the research stuff, I'm not too bothered. And also the class squadrons, of course, that you help run. And
the class 1 is going very well. We always hit our 20s. We have always maxing out of members, having to kick people. The class 2 is up to about 15 to 20 people now, so that's going pretty well. And the main question I wanted to talk about was, why do people hate arcade? And I'm an arcade player. I play arcade all the time. You are playing arcade ships. You're actually playing against a guy named Dirty NorCal, who probably will be in class here in the next couple days. He's a friend of mine. I can see you playing with him in ships right now. He's the guy talking. But why do people hate arcade? I wanted to bring up this loaded question.
Well, first of all, yeah, I haven't forgotten about Antho, but that's a Tazzy and Rex question, not a Boom question right now. But when it comes to hating arcade, I think it's just a dick measuring contest, if I'm honest. Like, a lot of people start War Thunder in arcade, and they see the natural progression of the game to be, oh, well, you move from arcade to progress to realistic, and then you go from there to simulator. And the idea is, once you've left arcade and moved to realistic, now you're in the big boys club. because a lot of the tournaments happen there, a lot of the squadron ego shit happens there. Not many of it really happens in arcade. Arcade is much more seen as just a casual game mode. So when you have a more competitive, or at least seen as a more competitive environment in the form of realistic, even though it definitely isn't, I'd actually say arcade, because you can do more stuff with your vehicles, is there's more room to for competitiveness. But the thing is, because it's seen like that, what you end up with is a very small group of people who are incredibly aggressive to the other areas because, I don't know, they want their area to be the best. We see it with Simulator as well, but because only a very small amount of the community play Simulator, they're not very loud. The thing about the realistic part is realistic is the largest community in War Thunder, so therefore they're going to be the loudest as well. So yeah, it's just, at the end of the day, it's
I'm better than you.
yeah, that's pretty much it. Like, when you think about it, it's just a bunch of people saying that they're better than you because they play a superior game mode, which makes absolutely no sense to me. Which is why, I'll never be prejudicial against anyone who wants to play anything. War Thunder, at its core, is not a competitive game. I know a lot of people think it is, and they want it to be, because it's a PvP game. But it's not competitive in the sense of rankings. It's not competitive in the sense of
esport.
Yeah, in the sense of esports, which I know, and what you find is there is a large crossover between the people who are very aggressive towards arcade players and also people who want the esports side of things to take off. And there's obviously a reason for that. It's much easier to take somebody down than it is to build them up, so you just smash the arcade portion to make them, come and play realistic. But for me, I will never understand it. I will always fight back against the idea that one game mode is superior to another, because it just isn't. It just isn't. People have different interests, and it's nice to see that War Thunder can actually give that to people.
Well, that was my question.
How about you? Why do you think it happens? Or why do you think there are arcade players who try and bitch out realistic players?
I just don't care about the realistic players, but the other... what are the complaints from an arcade player complaining about a realistic player? I don't have any.
Let's see.
I just don't like their attitude.
It's
nothing about their playing. It's more like their attitude.
Because you play realistic, you're sweaty tryhards. What about that? What would be?
Never heard that one before.
I've heard it a few times. But another thing as well, which is kind of interesting, and I was actually talking to not a few, but one or two Gaijin employees about this. If you look at the people who play arcade, they're generally older than the people who play realistic. And
sense.
just on average, and I'm just wondering why. Like, is it because the arcade game mode harpens back to, I don't know, a different time in gaming, or is it just because the mechanics are, they make it so it's just a little bit easier to get into, or maybe, maybe there's another reason. I don't know. Just seems kind of interesting to me that there's this kind of weird pseudo-generational gap between the two game modes.
Yeah, that is pretty funny because, like, a lot of the people, many people don't know, is I play with a squadron called Lab a lot, and Lab is a top 10 squadron for arcade planes. And what most people don't know is most of those guys are in their 40s.
Yeah.
30s and 40s, and I know there's even a few in their 50s. Like, so if you're playing arcade and you get killed by a guy named a guy from Lab, that guy might be in his 50s, and he is wrecking you.
Yeah, it's kind of weird, isn't it? And yeah, Xanthro brings up a good point, like how it's easier to spot enemies in AB and then react, so it's less about.
But don't you have to have don't you have to have faster reflex time because you have to see them and then you have to react to them faster.
Yeah, but I think the problem is it's harder to see them in the first place. So therefore, you've got to, you've got
Older
to.
people have bad eyesight.
Well, yeah, that's true. That's very, very true. I mean, I'm a young person. I've got bad eyesight, so yeah. Unfortunately, it happens to us all. But it is a good point to bring up, and also thanks for the follow, Killer. Do you have anything you want to end on Matrix? Any points?
No,
of
I just want.
wisdom, or-
That's just the one question I wanted to bring up during one of the fireside chats.
Oh, fair enough.
The difference between arcade and realistic, and the hatred towards, and it only goes one way too. Well, most of it goes one way. Like the amount of times I hear an arcade player complaining about realistic players is probably 1 out of every 10 times you hear somebody from realistic complaining about arcade. And I don't know why they complain about it. Just if you don't play it, just don't talk about it.
Yeah, or I can bitch at people constantly about it, and and have a bit of fun with it, which I think is most people's way of seeing it, even if it is wrong to do so.
And then it's funny because like even Xanthro just mentioned that everyone plays naval arcade instead of naval realistic.
Yeah, because it's boring as shit.
And maybe some people think RB is boring.
Yeah, and that is why it's good to
I love getting into a plane and sitting there for 10 minutes and wasting my day.
Well, if we
because
think...
we have you know what it is? It could be the people who play arcade, maybe those are the people that actually have jobs.
I have a job.
Okay, there are people in this there are people in this Discord that I see them 18 hours a day. And then I wonder to myself, what the hell do they do for a living? Get a fucking job.
Well, yeah. I think jobs would definitely help a few people. But as a person who has
do you have to waste their time getting into a bomber or a fighter and sitting there for 10, 15 minutes doing nothing?
Yeah, but then
maybe they have better things to do with their time. Maybe they have their wives to get to. Maybe they have sex to have.
Oh god.
You know?
Are you saying that arcade players are the true chads of the War Thunder community?
Maybe.
Anyway, Matrix, it's always lovely to have a chat to you, and thanks for coming on as well.
Okay, I'm gonna go down there and bring up. You can grab Lone Wolf.
All right, but see you later on. So there's Matrix making definitive statements. War Thunder arcade players are the true chads of the War Thunder community. Are you realistic players out there going to take that? Do you believe it to be so? Oh god. But yeah, it's definitely true that I personally don't understand like the animosity between the two crowds. I think it's also played up a lot more than it actually happens, just because it's just when people are bored, it's something to do, and also of course there's going to be immaturity everywhere, as it always happens. Anyway, the next person that we're bringing on is Lone Wolf 196, but before we do, I just want to say thank you to Dark Knight and Killer for following. It's very kind of you guys. So, Lone Wolf, how are you doing today? How is life on your end?
I'm doing wonderful, man. It is a great day to be alive.
Oh, that's good. So what is the thing you want to chat about today, or do you have any questions, comments, or queries for the stream?
So I wanted to talk about console players because I play on Xbox.
Oh, cool.
And but first I have to follow up to Matrix's comment. I play a lot of RB, so I'm just a little offended, but that's okay.
Good stuff.
But AB is good too. So there has to be love for all.
Yeah, I agree.
So my thing is that I play Xbox and I work 40 hours a week, unlike some of the people apparently, and you come across these events like Shipyard and what I call the Build-A-Bear event before that. And while they're absolute tons of fun, I find it hard to be able to always be able to grind through that and get the vehicles and the completion status that I want. And I don't have access to the Gaijin store, and that's kind of a bummer. It's kind of a down thing. That we don't have access to that on console.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I mean, even in statements before, Gaijin has also said that they agree with it. That they wish that everybody had access to the Gaijin market. So, if you missed a vehicle, you could buy it, or if you missed, certain components, you'd be able to pick them up. And they try and readdress the balance with, those like little things you can buy for GE on the consoles. But it never truly addresses the imbalance between the two. And I hope in the future they find a better way of dealing with it, whether it is like after the fact with the vehicles, like maybe selling them in packs or for GE for consoles, because the main reason why consoles don't have access to the Gaijin market is unfortunately not Gaijin. It's Sony and Microsoft themselves. So there's a real big barrier there that Gaijin has to try and get past, and it seems like they're failing at that. And whether I don't really know how you would fix the problem unless you just made it much easier for consoles to do these grinding events, which, to be honest, like I'd be fine with. I'd be fine with these grinding events being easier for everyone, because I think overall, when we look at Operation Shipyard and the Battlefield Engineer event, which were the two big ones this year, they were just nightmares compared to the Operation Summer of the year before.
Oh yeah, it was it was crazy.
Yeah, it definitely sucks. It definitely sucks a lot, and I really hope. So are you doing the Operation Frost event, or are you skipping that too? Well, not skipping it, but would you have time to do that too?
Yeah, I'm definitely trying. It's nice because, like you had pointed out in the video prior to this, that it normally should really only take about 2 hours a day. And after I finish my day of work or whatever, I normally have that time in the evening.
Hmm.
But so yeah, I'm definitely plugging away and trying at it. It's hard though because it's definitely kind of tucked away in the profile. I for the first day had no idea where to look for the challenges.
Oh yeah,
It's somewhat
yeah.
new to the format.
Yeah,
But,
the profile achievements and then Operation Frost. They don't make it easy, do they? Like when it comes to finding information about things, I definitely agree with that.
Shout out to the
Yeah.
SU-100Y for helping me with my tank stars though.
Yeah, I've run into. I tell you what, the SU-100Y I never thought was a very good machine, but for some reason I've been running into a bunch of them over like the last few days, like in my jumbo, and they are a natural counter to it. I'll definitely give it that.
I love nuking nuking tanks as they come around the corner, and they're just in the chat. They're like, "Why?" I'm just like,
So with so the fact is, like, obviously console doesn't get access to the Gaijin market, and I don't think there'll be a time soon where they'll get access to it either, unless something drastically changes when it comes to Sony's and Microsoft's position on these things. Because Sony and Microsoft, the idea is they want everything to go through their store, right? So obviously the Gaijin market doesn't go through their store, therefore it's a no-no. That's how they see it. So the only way you can really get around it is if you link your account to a PC and then start playing on a PC and stuff. But obviously not many. I mean, I don't think that's a good solution to the problem. So do you think there could be any mechanics or anything they could add to these events? Kind of like how in this Frost event, where if you miss a challenge, you can always buy it for GE, like during the time. Do you think there's anything that they could add to make it easier for consoles, instead of just having to grind for hours and hours and hours, instead of just using the market?
Yeah, I mean, it's nice that they did put that in there. Um, to buy that challenge cost 299 GE,
Hmm.
which is right around. I think it's right around like $5, so somewhere in there. I don't know
Hmm.
for sure. I don't have it in front of me, but it is nice to be able to go back and purchase that if you miss it. I don't know that there's necessarily um, a, a thought process or an idea that's planted on how to correct that or how to assist the
Hmm.
console players. Um, yeah, that's a great question because we come across that barrier with Sony and Microsoft that they want a slice of the pie as well. They don't want Gaijin to just be able to get the money around it and to
Yeah.
being left out of the loop. So I think that maybe making the events not so much shorter, but making the challenges a little less extreme and not so much Frost, but more back to the Battlefield Engineer and Shipyard in front of
Yeah.
that, because those were definitely insane. I remember I played for 4 days, and I think it was 4 or 5 hours a day just to get the I-180S. And then it was a real struggle to get the VFW after that, but I never got a chance to go for the Tiger or um, uh, the Mercado was
Yeah.
the other one.
Yeah, I agree. I think so. In when I did the Battlefield Engineer event, I decided to go through it in a way where I would pretty much catalog everything that I did in the event. So and on the YouTube channel, I did a video every day, basically going through what happened on that day. Talking about what had happened that day, and just basically a kind of a diary in a way, just going through how the event was going. And on the third or fourth day, I'd completed my third plane, I believe. So I was ahead of the curve, and I was going. And then I realized the system was completely rigged. And this wasn't so much the case on the consoles, it was the case on the consoles. But if you'd bought the GE thing, which was like it gave you more special parts or whatever
Right,
from
in
drop
the
rates,
documents or whatever.
yeah, then it would be okay for you. But if you didn't do that, and obviously on PC we didn't have access to that, there was no way you could complete more I-180s. Because of the fact that it would always give you the wrong parts that you needed. So the system on that event, in my opinion, I don't care whoever says otherwise from a gauging point of view, it was rigged, and it
I
was
agree with that.
rigged incredibly egregiously towards the community. Now, in Operation Shipyard, it got better, so it wasn't as bad. So we're seeing an upward trajectory on, it being a bit more fair for people, but it was still not easy to get all of those vehicles if you wanted them. And also, the best event that we've had of these build a bear style was the Operation Summer one from last year with the IS-7. That was probably the most what would be classed as fair. So we're still on a downward slope from that, but hopefully in the next year, it'll get better. What do you think of Gaijin's stance on the idea that the way they've talked about these events is these are designed for people who just play the game a lot, and also you're not really designed to get all of the vehicles from the event. It's more of a pick and choose idea. Do you think this is an okay sentiment to have, or would you prefer, it to be, well, more open to everyone, I suppose, is the way to put it?
Yeah, my family will always come first. I love video games. I've been playing since I was a young boy on PC, Xbox, all the way up.
Yeah.
And I've definitely uh, worked and ground and catered my way up and up and up and up. But I work to support my family. I
Yes.
spend time with my family because they are my everything. I don't have, I don't even have 6 hours to spend on Xbox. I don't even have 4 hours to spend on Xbox a day when I'm out there and contributing. Uh, So for people that can spend all day on Xbox, that's awesome. I mean, if that's, or PC, if that's what they get to do and that's how they want to do spend their life, awesome. I wake up at 5 in the morning and brush my teeth and go to work, and that's how I like to live my life.
Hmm.
But I think cultivating events around the fact that Billy stays home all day while George goes to work. Um, I don't understand why Billy has the advantage of being able to get everything and George just gets shafted in a
Yeah.
way, that he's left out of getting the events. And I think that if you put vehicles in for an event, you should be able to try to get all of them because they're all cool and unique in their own way. Um, Kind of like the Operation Shipyard. I thought that was a pretty neat event. And Battlefield Engineer before that, there were some pretty cool vehicles and definitely interesting concepts that I didn't get to enjoy because I just simply didn't have the time or resources to get it.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think they should make it more open to everybody, and at the same time, the thing you bring up there is, it seems like though those events are tailored towards people who have a lot of free time, who generally play the game a lot, but at the same time, if you're thinking about the people who keep the game going in a monetary sense, that is not those people. And it's not, there's a fine balance with free to play games where what you have is you have a minority of the player base who pretty much pays for everything, the whole whale idea. Or you have like 5 or 10% or maybe even more of the player base that actually contributes money to the game. And then you have, like, let's say 80 to 90%, or maybe let's say 60% who don't contribute anything, and then you've got that little percentage in the middle that contributes some but not a ton. And to make events that only are designed for people who don't have jobs, people who don't have families, which is definitely the big thing for me personally. Somebody who has a wife, who has an extended family and wants to maybe grow that one day. The point is, it gets to a point where it doesn't become feasible just to play and sit down on a game all day and play it. And there has to be some kind of
Absolutely.
give. And at least from a PC point of view, I think that's what they're trying to do with the market. But the problem is the market is completely player controlled. So what you get is you get the people who don't play. Oh, sorry. You have the people who play a ton, who don't have jobs, who maybe don't have families, don't have school, whatever it is, and they have all of the parts, and they're trying to sell it to the people who have the money but not the time. But because it's player controlled, what you see constantly is scalping.
Oh yeah.
And that's my biggest problem. There are no controls for the scalping aspect. So even if it was brought to console, and somebody or just Dark Knight's actually brought up a pretty good suggestion. Put the market itself in the game. So instead of like an external option, it would all be managed in the game itself. So therefore, Gaijin wouldn't be able to, Sony and Microsoft wouldn't be able to take a piece out of it. The only thing that would be external to it would be the balance of Gaijin coin. So you could definitely do that and do it in that way. But the thing is, without these limits in place, even if you brought over this system to console, I think it would probably still have the same problems. And it's kind of sad that is, how humans are, but I mean, it is just how they are. They want to make as much money, or as much Gaijin coin in this case, as possible.
For sure.
Yeah. Hopefully they've learnt a lot from this year when it comes to those style of events, and hopefully it, gets better. For me personally, I much prefer stuff like Operation Frost. It's a bit more relaxed, and it's a little bit better for people, especially on console. Have you, since you're an Xbox person, have you seen the new announcement for the new Xbox?
Xbox Scarlet, Project Scarlet.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. I've already started putting my nickels and dimes away from the wife
Yeah.
to save up for it. It looks incredible, and I could only imagine how nicely War Thunder could run on that.
Yeah, it's definitely. I mean, when I saw the announcement, I thought the announcement was great. Like I think they did it at the Game Awards, if I remember right. But I watched
yeah, or E3,
the
something like that.
yeah, and I watched it afterwards, and I tell you what, it's really interesting to see what happens with consoles in the future as they get more advanced, like what they become. Like I'm intrigued to see what's the next evolution of them. We'll
Yeah,
see.
I think the sky's the limit. If they put their minds to it, they'll make
Yeah.
it work.
Oh, I agree as well. Well, anyway, it's been lovely chatting to you, Lone Wolf. So, is there anything that you want to end this on? Any passing comments or anything like that?
Well, thank you so much for having these streams and having this community to reach out to. And I'm fairly new to the Discord, but I've been watching your channel for a long time. Fantastic content. Keep it up. Don't let the purge push you out, because we're not going to let that happen.
Yeah.
But sincerely, just thank you so much. God bless you, and keep doing what you're doing. And for everybody out there, water's good, alcohol's better.
All right.
Also, I might need the number to AA.
All right. Well, as always, Merry Christmas, and I hope you have a wonderful New Year. And thank you for coming on as well. It's always wonderful talking to people, and I hope we get to chat soon too.
Yes, sir.
See you later, bud.
Dude.
Okay, let's see. So the next person that we have on is going to be good old comrade Blackberry, our brother in arms, and let's just get him on since we seem to have a little bit of a waiting room. So let's get it sorted. Hello, Blackberry. How is life?
Hello, I'm doing pretty good. How about you?
I'm doing all right.
That's good. That's good.
So what do you want to chat about today?
Well, so I'm guessing they already told you rocks, right? They already mentioned that.
Kind of. I mean, I'll read you the exact thing that was put. So, Blackberry is next, and he wants to talk to you about erosion, boulders, and rocks, and gravel, and stuff. So,
Okay,
the sky's the limit.
When I said to them I wanted to talk about rocks, I left it at rocks, right?
Okay.
Erosion or anything like that. But so I have a hypothetical question, right, for you.
Okay.
Let's say you're put in a situation where you have to choose one or the other.
Okay.
Would you rather have sex with a rock or the rock?
Jesus. Right. So do you mean Dwayne the Rock Johnson, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
I mean, he's a very beautiful man, isn't he? Like
Very much so.
It's very hard to say no to Dwayne the Rock Johnson. But the problem is, I would have to. So the thing is, I'm very much a person who is more interested in the natural side of life, and because Dwayne the Rock Johnson has had so many roids pumped into him and so many different things pumped into him, I'm not sure he's even human anymore. And I actually think he's more of an actual rock than a person. So
You may be right.
yeah. So
And you gotta take into account, like, you get a really thick statue, like you got a statue made out of like granite or something,
Yeah.
and it's just well put together. It's got curves and everything. You could have a lot of fun with that, couldn't you?
Yeah, and also, it might be
It's
a
a hard
little
decision.
bit. The problem is the temperature, right? Like you can't really warm rocks up too well. So once you get a little bit deep, it's just gonna get a little bit cold, and it's gonna feel a bit weird. At least I know if I'm like hoofing Dwayne from behind, it's at least gonna be a warm experience.
You are right on that, but you have to take into account, like, you can have whatever you want with a rock. You can shape it any way you like. Like,
That's
the
true.
Dwayne comes in one size and one size only. Rocks, all shapes, all sizes, all colors, whatever you want.
Yeah, but once you've shaped it though, it can't change.
That's
So
not
you-
necessarily true. You could always use some erosion and just take away part of the rock,
Yeah, but how? Yeah, but if I'm banging it right, how long, like the idea of stuff like longshore drift and the idea of erosion is they happen over thousands of years. I'm not going to be banging this thing for thousands of years.
Well, you're creating a lot of friction, right? Like, I feel like that has to have some effect on the rock.
Yeah, but I agree. It will have a lot of effect on the rock. It will also have a lot of effect on my penis, and I'm a bit worried about that. Like,
yeah, but that's the thing, though. Rocks don't regrow. Our cells do regrow, though. So, like, if you take it slow enough, you could regenerate faster than it's, like, hurt, you know? There's all kinds of factors here that you have to think about.
Like, what, I mean, yeah. I suppose the problem is as well as the cleanliness aspect. Like, once you've done a rock, right, and, you know, you've shot the load, cleanup is an issue, where with Dwayne, I feel like he's much more self-cleaning. I don't know.
I mean,
also,
I don't know about that. Dwayne does not look like the type of guy that would swallow. I mean, like, if you really, like, look
how
at him,
old
he does
is
not
Dwayne?
look like that kind of dude. 50, I think, something like that.
So he probably doesn't have many years left. Because he's huge, right? So...
He's 47.
Right, he's 47, and he's 1.9 centimeters tall. So...
Meters? Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah, me too. So he's 6'5", so he'll probably last until he's like 70. So you get a good like 20 years out of him, but with a rock it is eternal. So
Yeah.
I'd probably have to go with just a rock. It seems
I like
like
your
a
decision.
it seems like a better bet overall.
And when you were talking about cleanup, like it is a lot harder to like get in there when it's like all like squishy, but like if it's a rock, it's very solid and you can just take a towel and wipe it right off, you know? Much easier.
That's true, or you could get a hose and just hose it down.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Well,
God, what a depressing life we live.
yeah, gotta get off somehow, you know? That's the way it is.
Everybody's got their kink, right? And if your kink is metamorphosis, like, you know, you go all the way. If sedimentary rocks is what gets you hard, then, you know, good on you. There's plenty of them around.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Right.
Well, it was a good chat. I enjoyed it very
Wonderful.
much.
Do you have any last words for the stream, Blackberry?
Any last words? Let me think a second. Sprite is better than Dr. Pepper. All right, have a good one, buddy. See ya.
See you later, bud. Sprite is definitely not better than Dr. Pepper. Like that is the most egregious statement there. It's not the fact that would you have sex with Dwayne The Rock Johnson or a rock. That, no. I think the most egregious statement there is saying Dr. Pepper is worse than Sprite. That's just categorically wrong. Dr. Pepper is way superior as a beverage. Anyway, let's get the next person on. And the next person that is available is Moxie. So let's get Moxie on. Good old Moxie, and see how is he doing. How you doing, Moxie? How's life?
Hey, hello. It's
Bloody
okay.
hell. Calm down. Whoa, you are crazy loud.
Am I tall? I'm on the mobile at the moment.
Right, there we go. I fixed it, I think.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I just had to turn you down. You nearly blew my ears off.
I'm on the mobile. I'm on the mobile and also out. So if you hear some strange noises, that's people passing by and other stuff, cars. So in general, it's okay. It could be better, but personal stuff is not how to say. Okay, but we'll somehow pedal through it. So
okay.
What I wanted to talk for a little bit is this arcade realistic simulator stuff.
All right. Yeah.
The reason I don't play too much arcade is strange as it may sound, is because it's too fast for me.
Right.
It's drained my concentration too fast. Arcade is non-stop action. The moment you jump into the game until it ends. So after like 45 minutes of arcade, playing styles all dry up, and that's the only reason I don't play too much arcade. Lately I played arcade only when the game got patched and everything reset, and by accident I press play and I end up in arcade because the game settings is reset. And I usually end up playing few games, and then I remember why I don't play them, because it's a non-stop action. But
No,
the good.
well, I definitely understand that, because I'm kind of the same way. Because one of the things in War Thunder I really like is trying like set up kills or set up tactics and stuff. And I feel like in arcade, because it's so ever changing and because there's so many things around, it's hard to do that. Like it's really hard to take or have like a real grasp on what's happening. That's why I think I prefer like air realistic to ground realistic, because in air realistic, there's a lot less players. I can have much more of an effect on the battle than I can in ground. Whereas in arcade, it just seems like it's all over the place, which is good for some,
Yes.
but for me, I feel like I'm never having a big enough impact on what's going on around the battle.
Yeah, yes, and then usually when I end up in arcade, I have that realistic mentality, and after a few minutes I start, in quotes, screaming to the team in chat, "Hey, stop, what are you doing? The ground forces, killing the beast, killing that, where are you flying?" And then I remember, hey, wait a minute, you're in arcade.
Yeah.
That's the only reason I really admire those older people who play arcade, because as let's say I'm in that category, a little bit older people, I just can't play it for long effectively. I don't see the reason why you go and play just to play, to be there, if you don't get some kind of excitement or feel of I will now quote the Electronic Arts, some kind of accomplishment, as they said it.
Yeah.
If you know what I'm referring to, that Star Wars debacle with a crazy grind. And that's the basic only reason. But I do not look down on people who are enjoying and playing arcade. Arcade is definitely it has its own style, and you need also, if you want to play it good, you need even more. You need even better reflexes and awareness what's happening around you, because everything is happening in much
faster.
pace than So maybe not so in a tank arcade, but also it's faster than the realistic ground. So.
Yeah, I would actually say the skill ceiling for arcade is probably higher than it is for realistic, and it is. So what the first squadron that I was part of was called Poison Oak, and the leader was a guy called Crash Helmet, or Crash, and he was a 60-year-old or 70-year-old gentleman. He was a Vietnam War veteran, and all he did was play arcade planes. And he really loved arcade planes, and that's all he did. And this was back in the days before ground existed. So I don't know whether he liked, ground, because, well, it just, it wasn't there. So it was really interesting talking to him about it, because for him, what he would do is he would actually get really high on, weed or marijuana, whatever you want to call it, and he would just kind of turn off his brain and just go and shoot things, and that's what he did. And it was amazing just to listen to him and how he saw it. But it definitely I never have seen it as one is better than the other. I've always seen it as it just appeals to different people, and also different people have different skill sets, so therefore, they're better at certain things. And it's just, it's quite hard to compare the two game modes because they are so different.
Yes, definitely different, and the skill level is, or requirements are also quite different. The Jenga, I moved from the Jenga squad, but he was at the beginning of his YouTube channel. He started basic YouTube channel just playing, showing the arcade games, and even let's say I consider myself a relatively experienced player in both modes. I learned something from him. The extensive use of manual rudder in arcade is something that lots of people don't do. But if you start pressing the rudder keys, I'm saying it the wrong way. The people usually in arcade don't use the keys too much. But if you start using the keys with the mouse, you can do crazy things in arcade, and that will give you a quite big advantage over the other players.
Oh yeah, so, it's insane. It's insane. One of the most amazing things was I watched an arcade tournament back in the day, and I was just blown away at what these people could do. Like it was just insane to me that they were pulling off what they were doing, and it was kind of, in a weird way, it was really interesting to watch, but at the same way it was also very hard to watch because it was so fast, and people were doing things so quickly. I don't even know how you would try and commentate something like that, because you would have to be able to talk 1,000 words a minute. So yeah.
Yeah, I remember that I watched part of the tournament, and as you said, it was crazy fast, and it's interesting how Gagin didn't see the prospect of that, because lots of people say, yeah, War Thunder is not interesting game to watch, it's kind of a slow and this and that, but that arcade flying tournament was it's hard to explain it. It was quite fast and interesting to watch. It wasn't boring. I don't want to offend any tankers, but if you are watching even the pilots, if you are watching the realistic flying game, it's have those long parts where you are just pumping your altitude, flying around.
Yeah.
Frankly, it's boring to watch to most of the people. To me, it's not, but I can understand why lots of people find it boring. For watching somebody fly 5 minutes to get to the certain point, and then you have 15 to 20 seconds of action, and it's over. And yeah, but in arcade, it's a boom, 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 left, boom, boom, boom. It's more action. So,
and I think personally, when we talk about the setup, right, which is that 5 minutes, I think the problem is that's where the commentary stuff comes in. So if you've got two or one decent commentator, and while that setup is happening in that 5 minutes, then what you can do is you can set the stage, you can talk about who these players are, you can create narratives, you can create storylines about these people. And the unfortunate thing is we don't really have anybody who does that, and at the same time there isn't anybody there with any cool stories apart from, well, he's played the game for 5 years, so therefore he's pretty good. So so I think if you could make or have a bunch of what's it called? If you could have a bunch of cool storylines around it, I think it could actually work really well, but we just haven't seen that yet. and I don't even know if we will see that.
Yeah, I also doubt because I don't see who will have a will and time to invest into something like this
Yeah.
unless he's financially not supported, but financially what's the word?
Stable.
No, not stable.
Well off.
Motivated.
Oh, motivated. Okay. Right.
Yeah, because after a certain time, the goodwill of anybody will kind of dry off. You need something more than just goodwill to do something for a long time.
Oh, yeah, I agree.
So some kind of motivation, and usually the money is the motivation. I don't have to explain to you or the other people how life works. So.
Oh yeah, of course. Like at the end of the day, everybody has to put a roof over their head. Everybody has to put food on the table. Everybody has to support their family. And if you're doing something as a hobby and it's cutting into your, like let's call it money making time, you've got to start making money out of the hobby. Like it's as simple as that.
Yes.
Otherwise, you find something else which will just make you money. And sometimes it's not even the individual who needs to do it. Sometimes what will happen is they'll get outside pressure from others. Because it's like, well, what the hell? Why aren't you supporting your family like your dodo? So yeah, it's it just is how it is when it comes to stuff. So yeah, I definitely, I hope we do see an increase in that scene, but I also highly doubt it. I have no faith, let's say, in it happening.
Me too, unfortunately, but that arcade part of scene is wasted because that could be, let's say, easy way to make a interesting and watchable tournament without too much investment in storytelling about during that setup times, so to say.
Yeah, I agree. Maybe somebody will take up the mantle, but it will definitely not be me.
Me too, for multiple reasons, the life, and one reason is lack of time.
Yeah, exactly. Time is always the problem, at least for now, for me, and it seems like it's been the same problem for a very long time. Like it's just time is running out in the days. I need 25 hours.
Yeah, definitely. I'm even slightly, so to say, slightly older than you, and have a grown-up son and wife and work. So the only times that I can squeeze to play is lately in the night, unless it's some special occasion that I'm free and I'm at home. But I was trying to make something out of YouTube, but I lose my skill in video editing, and at the moment I don't have a will and time to invest back into learning that, so that's also dead in the water. But if somebody have a will and know how, I'm fully behind him.
Yeah, exactly. Like I would definitely enjoy seeing it, but we'll have to see. We'll have to see if anybody does it, and maybe they will, maybe they won't. I mean, I know people have tried it before, and it hasn't gone that well. But there's always a chance, especially as War Thunder evolves in certain aspects. Anyway, Moxie, it's been really nice having a chat with you, and obviously I want to say I hope you have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And do you have any last thing to say to people before we move on?
Well, same as you did, as you said to me, I want to say to everybody who's listening, stay good, stay well, have a Merry Merry Christmas and good New Year. See you in the game and around the game and maybe around the other games, because I hope we other people are also not are playing other games, not just not just this one. So that's it. Stay well and see you around.
All right, Moxie. As always, it's always great to chat to you. Have a wonderful night, and I'll talk to you later.
Bye bye.
Bye, Moxie. As always, it's great to have a chat with Moxie. He's a lovely person, a lovely guy, and I hope he does have a good Christmas. As I hope all of you have a really nice Christmas. It's been really nice over this last month seeing kind of the community come together, and just make sure everybody's having a good time and making sure everybody is happy. I've never been part of such a large community, which I thought has been, so together on, caring for each other, weirdly. So yeah. I also like it, just before we move on to the next person, how these two destroyers have somehow decided, they're AI by the way, and they're the targets we have to kill. They've decided that the best course of action is to run into each other. Hello, Bernard. I'll give Bernard a rub. Otherwise he's going to hate me for a day. He's going to ignore me. Right, so let's get in the next person, who is the wonderful Tiger in the Xmas Bush. So, how are you doing, Tiger? How is life?
I'm doing great.
Oh,
Hello,
wonderful.
chat, and hello, everybody. Yeah, I'm assuming somebody's watching.
Yeah, a few
I'm not
people.
on Twitch right now, so life is beautiful at the moment.
Oh, good stuff. So, what did you want to chat about today? What was the big thing on your mind?
Food, mostly food, like festivals and stuff.
Food. Okay.
Yeah.
So, so do you mean like celebrations of food, or do you mean like coming together
just
and having food? Or?
Different types of food, like different mixtures of spices. How it tastes, everything tastes differently in different countries. The cultures of cooking and stuff.
Yeah, it is. It is kind of interesting how the hell is that medal? It is kind of interesting how, like, when being brought up in England, so obviously having historically the British Empire and all of that wonderful stuff. What it's
Yeah.
meant is you have all of these weird fusions of different cultures' food, and even to the point now where I think Britain has invented itself a ton of different curries and things like that, even though they're all made from spices which you can't find like in Britain. So
yeah.
it's really cool how, at least over the last 100 years, when like transport has become a big thing for a lot of people, how that's become, like much more central in our culture. How
Yeah.
like the fact that I can go outside now, where I live, and I can get pretty much any type of Asian food that I want, even though I'm in Canada, and it's wonderful. It's really nice.
Yeah. Yeah, for example, Hungary. Like Hungary, they're an inland nation, they don't have access to sea. And for some reason, I went to Hungary like 2 years ago on the winter festival,
Right.
and their food is incredibly spicy. Like they literally had no hardly any contact with like all the spices like during the Middle Ages and stuff. They
Yeah.
didn't trade in spice or anything. But Hungarian food has so many spices. Chili everywhere, like exotic, like saffron and stuff in meals. Like you wouldn't think of Hungary as like a culinary nation, like nation that has really extravagant tastes and stuff. Like if you go like any country around Hungary, like I don't know, Czechoslovakia, Romania, former Yugoslavia, like the kitchen there is mostly like really embedded into the culture, but Hungary, like it's so different than everything else. Really tasty food.
Yeah, the only Polish food I've ever had is it called Zurek? Like the soup that they have, which is like a weird like rye soup, where it's basically like a grain soup. That's the only real like Polish food I've personally had, and I mean it was okay. It tasted like, you know,
Like you would expect it.
it tasted like soup. Like I don't know how else to put it. But
Yeah.
it is, yeah, it is kind of amazing how you just have these weird and wonderful things. Like even just like, you know, looking at the British Isles, as I said before, like if you look at like Scottish classic food against British classic food, and you know all these different things, it's just a completely different world. And these places are only, you know, they're only like a few miles away from each other, but they eat
Yeah, and they
completely
have
different
completely
things.
different. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really interesting. And for example, like I went to Turkey a few years ago, and their kitchen is like the cooks are there are really good. Like anybody who goes to Turkey, just go to like Istanbul and go into little alleyway. Like don't go into little alleyways because you'll get robbed. But you know, just go find like a local kebab shop or something and just taste all the different kinds of kebab there are. Like there's not only one kebab, there's like 50 of them. Like every little shop has their own kebab and stuff. It's really good.
Yeah, for me, one of the things. So I during one of the big things in England is, so if you go to most pizza joints, they're actually run by Turkish people, and because you know the stereotype is, oh well, pizza's Italian, blah blah blah. But yeah, they're all run by Turkish people, and they all don't just do pizza. They also do stuff like shawarma and, well, not shawarma, sorry. You know, kebabs and
Yeah, shish
burgers
kebab.
and, yeah, shish kebab and stuff like that. And one of the foods that I never had until I came to Canada was shawarma, and which is, you know, obviously more Middle Eastern, but I really like shawarma. I think shawarma is a really good food. In general, like it has a little bit of everything. You know, it has some veg, has some meat, has some sauce, obviously wrapped in bread. Like, I much more prefer that style of food to. We're over here. If you want something like that, the only style
Yeah.
you can really get is like Mexican style. And
Yes.
yeah, I'm not too much of a fan of that. It's a bit too. The spices are wrong for my palate. I don't like, you know, like a ton of chilies everywhere and everything like that. So yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, like where I live in Croatia, and the Balkans are really a mix. For example, Croatia was part of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, and we have a lot of influences from like Germany and from Turkey and all the Middle Eastern meals and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's a really good mix for people who like extravagant food and like also like normal food. Like if you go to the coast, you'll find predominantly Italian food.
Yeah.
So I have like, if you go to inland, you'll find like all the meat, lamb, all the good stuff, meaty, fat.
Yeah.
But if you go to the coast, it's all like more. Oh yes, Matrix. Uh, if you go to the coast, it's all like pasta based, and there are local variations.
Interesting.
Like every little village has their own like pasta mix. For example, we have a thing basically a pasta, but usually old grandmothers do that because it's pretty much died out, unfortunately, in the industry, because you cannot actually make it in a machine. It's really difficult to. You need
Right.
like real hands to make it. It's pasta, but you put meat like cheese, spices, everything inside, and then you cook it and add some sauce on it.
So kind of
It's
like, is it called ravioli? think.
similar to
Yeah.
that, but it's really local and centralized to Istria.
Well, that's kind of cool. Like,
Yeah, it's
that's one. So I traveled a bit around with the wife, like a few months ago to like New Zealand and also different parts of Britain again. And that's one thing. Like in the next few years, like I'm gonna be going around America and doing some work there and stuff. That's one thing I'm really looking forward to. Like just the different food. Like as a resident fat man, like it's really nice having all these different types. And I really hope people like that. That's what always kind of makes me sad when you see people limit themselves to such small amounts or small types of food. There's just so many out there to explore. I don't think people should limit themselves.
Yeah, I went to Spain with my school. Like this, every school organizes a trip to, like a foreign country in 4th grade of high school, and we went to Spain. It was our choice, and we all went to a little town and all. It was nice and all, and we were hungry, so me and my friend decided, oh, let's go find something to eat.
Yeah.
And the rest of my class, 90% of them went to the fucking McDonald's. Like, bruh, just go find like one alleyway further away from the McDonald's is a local like restaurant and all the local dishes you can try them.
Yeah.
Like, just it's so easy to find local food and it's usually really worth it. Just ask some local, if anybody's going anywhere like in a foreign country, ask a few locals where the best food is. They'll usually point you to the right direction and you'll have a much more memorable experience of the country.
Yeah, and I've also I've never really had a bad experience like asking somebody where to eat as well. Like I know a lot of people are worried about that. Like they're worried about people's reactions and stuff. Don't be worried. Just go do it. If they're assholes, then what's the worst that can happen? Oh no, you're gonna have to ask the next person where to eat.
Yeah,
like come
too
on,
bad.
It's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do agree. There is definitely a thing where people get comfortable with certain types of food, right? And
Oh yeah.
it's one of those things that has happened when I've been on school trips too. Like I think we went to Paris one year, and pretty much everybody wanted just instead of trying all the food from Paris, it was just much easier just to go to the fast food areas. And
it's
gouge
cheap,
on that
yeah.
stuff. Yeah, and cheap as well. Like that's the big thing as well. Like price is a bit of a problem.
Too bad, yeah. That's the biggest downside usually.
Yeah.
But I think it's totally worth it to just try out something new out of your like comfort zone, so to say.
Oh yeah, I agree massively.
For example, I cannot stand fish. For some reason, I just cannot eat fish. And my friends made me like taste was some dish like fried. It wasn't fried, but like little anchovies, I think, in a
Right.
special sauce. They made me try it. I usually don't just I say no to fish. Like I cannot stand fish. I cannot look at it from 50 meters.
Yeah.
Just no. And I tried it, and it's good. Like it's so worth it to try new experiences in food. Just
Yeah.
go, people, go to your anywhere and just taste something new. It
Yeah.
makes the life so much better.
Yeah, there is one exception to that though, and the exception is so in China, on street vendors, right? So I've been doing a lot of research into this because I couldn't believe what I was reading. If you didn't know, in China, a lot of the street vendors they use what is known as gutter oil. Now, what gutter oil is it's oil where you pretty much go through the waistelines of the city and dredge it all up and basically filter out all the gunk and use what's left as oil.
Bruh.
Yeah.
No.
And so if you're getting food in China from street vendors, just be really careful about that shit. Because that can be really bad for you.
or you could get like dog meat or cat meat.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
much
yeah.
more probable. I
Yeah.
just wouldn't trust anybody in like streets in China. They're yeah, like the videos you see of Chinese people, they're so like I wouldn't say brainwashed, but emotionless. Like you see kid getting hit by a car on the street, and the kid lies there for like 20 minutes before somebody removes him from the street so his car can pass.
It's definitely a different world out there.
Yeah, it's
I'll put it
completely
that way.
different worlds and stuff.
Yeah, the mentalities are really. I mean, if you really want like another interesting thing, so one of the interesting things about that part of the world is in a lot of the areas it is completely fine just to squat down and defecate on the ground. And so and that's putting it lightly, but yeah, basically just they even have specially designed shorts which are designed so when you squat they open up and you can just drop and walk around. Now this only happens in certain areas, but at the same time, it's it's something you got to watch out for.
Yeah, remember, boys, India superpower in 10 days.
Yeah, India 2020. Anyway, Tiger, do you have any last comments or something to say to the stream before we move on?
Yes. Anybody who's looking for a nice vacation or a time to have fun, go to Croatia and on the coastline during the summer. It's really worth it. So yeah,
Yeah,
promoting my
Croatia.
country. Hell yeah.
Croatia is a lovely country.
Boosting the GDP like a boss.
Yeah, Croatia is a lovely country, and everyone I've talked to from there just seems really nice.
It's
Definitely,
cheap.
like there are two things I would say. Like you guys are very much straight talking, and also really enjoy a good meme. So I'd
Yes,
say
memes.
that's a great combo.
Yeah, just don't mention the war to the older people and you're fine.
Yeah, exactly. Just shove that over there somewhere,
Yeah,
and
it
everything
didn't
will
happen.
be fine.
Like,
Yeah, exactly.
It's all over.
All right, bud. Anyway,
Have a good night, boys and girls. See ya.
see you later, Tiger. Have a nice night. So that was Tiger, another Croatian that we have. It's always lovely talking to Croatians. I've never had a bad experience with a Croatian, so I'm happy to say, you seem like lovely people. So the next person we're having on is Jurist, who is actually, we need to thank Jurist because Jurist has been one of the guys who has pretty much been sorting out everybody for the stream. So, thank you to Jurist, and how are you? How are you doing, Jurist?
Yes. Rather well, actually.
Well, that's good.
Anyway. Enough about me. My question to you.
Okay.
Christmas movies. Which one's the best one?
Christmas movies? Right,
Yes.
so, there is...
Is it Die Hard?
You want to know something? And I know Matrix is going to kill me for this. I've never seen Die Hard.
What the heck, man?
I know. And I'm sure that means that I'm going to be bombarded with watching it. So yeah, I'll make sure to watch it this Christmas. So then I will have watched Die
What's
Hard.
wrong with you, Die Hard?
Oh, abysmal.
But yeah, I've never watched it. Like it's just I kind of just missed it. You like when I was younger, I didn't watch a lot of movies and stuff, so it just never happened. But there are two movies that stand out. So the first one is kind of a family tradition movie that we've had for a while, and it's Love Actually. So every year we watch Love Actually, and if you don't know, it's basically a film about Christmas, but also about happy things happening to some people and not to others. But overall,
Yeah, like Hugh Grant. You deserve that, Hugh Grant.
Yeah, fuck Hugh Grant. But the and the other movie is I can't remember what it is, but it's one where they kill Santa Claus by accident, and the guy has to become Santa Claus. or he gets chosen to become Santa Claus, and they have this like line in the middle of it, and it's all about if seeing is believing. No, it's like, why do you think that seeing is believing when believing is seeing, or something stupid like that. And I don't know, I've always enjoyed that movie, but I can't remember what the hell it's called. So
I like a Muppets Christmas Carol because it has Michael Caine as Scrooge, which I think is brilliant.
Oh yeah, Muppets Christmas Carol is good as well. I forgot about that one. And also another weird family tradition we have, and I don't know why, is we watch horror movies on Christmas. So we watch stuff like Friday the 13th. So I always thought Poltergeist was a good Christmas movie. I thought that was pretty good. But the story behind the girl in Poltergeist is a little bit un-Christmassy, so that's a bit of a problem. But yeah, I mean...
You know, Die Hard 2 is also set at Christmas, so you can watch both.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the Santa Claus
Except
with Tim...
Die Hard 2 didn't...
Yeah, that's what it is, Nick. It's the Santa Claus with Tim Allen in it. Yeah, that one. That one's really good.
Tim Allen. Okay.
Yeah, Tim Allen is Santa Claus. Like,
Okay. Fair enough.
yeah, I really like
Pretty
that.
good. Nice. So, do you have a favorite like Christmas song or anything? Like,
There's only right. So over the years, I've been bombarded with so much Christmas music that there is only a few I can tolerate, and there's the I wish it could be Christmas every day. I could hear that all the time. I like that one. Because I just imagine the guy being absolutely hammered just singing it like, he's like, this shit could be Christmas every day, like that, and I don't know, it just makes it much more fun. And every so often the wombling one, because they've tried to fit so many syllables into lyrics which shouldn't be there, when it's like, and you gotta have a happy wombling Christmas, and it's like, where the fuck did that come from? But no,
too many
I mean,
syllables.
the other Christmas songs I like are much more designed around if I find the women hot or not, which is a bit worrying. Like the Mariah Carey one's pretty good, but that's pretty much because it's Mariah Carey. But how about you? Which ones are you interested in?
Well, I'll tell you what. I play a game every year, right? And the game is whoever hears like the Christmas music first is the loser, and I play it with everyone in the house.
Right.
So I have to try and avoid it, like a ninja. But unfortunately, I'm less successful generally. But I think my favourite, I quite like. I less like the sort of Christmas pop songs than I do some of the more classical Christmas carols. Well, I like Carol of the Bells. I think that one's one of my favourite ones. Yeah.
Yeah, one of the problems is for me with like the classic stuff is from about, and I still play, but not too much. I should play more, but from about like the age of 14 or maybe 13 to the age of like 22, every year I played the euphonium. So I would play in either the schools like brass bands or community brass bands. And
so you were a nerd?
Yes, I was a big nerd. Music nerd, and still am, but so every year we would do different dates and play different Christmas songs, and I just got so sick of them. Like it's got to the point now where I can play them without looking at the music, and when it's got to that point, you are sick of it. Like you are honestly sick of it.
Yeah, I can imagine that would make you rather fed up with them.
Oh yeah, definitely. But if I was gonna have to pick a favorite, I like Silent Night. When you have a good singer singing it, I think it's really nice to listen to.
Yes, I agree.
I could definitely. I'm definitely behind a good Christmas story though. Like if you have like a good orator and you have like a room, like there's a few large auditoriums in Vancouver, and I've actually been going to them every weekend with Kit to either see like one. I mean, everybody does like Tchaikovsky because everybody fucking loves Tchaikovsky, but there was one time where they were just doing Christmas readings, and they got a bunch of actors in who were just like it was lovely listening to them, and they really put on an amazing performance, and yeah, it was just I want to do that again. I would much more listen to that than more Christmas music personally.
Yeah, that does sound nice. I do quite like going out at Christmas, going to like pantos and stuff.
I like Tchaikovsky, Purdy, but the problem is I've heard Tchaikovsky too many times, and people only know like 2 of his actual fucking things. So it gets very samey very quickly. Like everybody knows the Swan Lake, like all of the songs out there. Like no, I'm just not in the mood. I'm done Tchaikovsky. How long's he been dead? Maybe he should stay dead.
Quite a lot.
Yeah.
Of time. Time he's been dead for.
Yeah.
Also, another Christmas point. Bread sauce, yay or nay?
Bread sauce? What is it made out of?
Yeah, bread sauce.
I feel like I might know it by a different name. But thanks, yours. You know.
It's true. It's not you don't. You know, you're asking rather obvious. So.
God,
you know, it's the sort of white sauce that you put with turkey. Christmas.
We've always done cranberry. I don't think I've ever had bread sauce.
Yeah, you see, you can do that, but I
might have to try this bread sauce. Let's see.
I like bread sauce a lot, actually. Bread sauce is
milk, onion, cloves, peppercorns, garlic, thyme, white breadcrumbs, and cream. I mean, that does sound nice. I will definitely say, and it would be a change from cranberry. Oh, that's a thing, right? So over here, most people don't do turkey for Christmas because they obviously do it for Thanksgiving. So you always get stuck with weird food at Christmas, and I'm not sure I agree with it. Like I'd rather we just forgot about the idea of Thanksgiving and just did turkey.
Yeah,
Christmas.
I mean, really. Do they, after the genocide, there's not really much you can do to make up for that, can you? So,
yeah, and the silly. So the thing is, right? So from an American perspective, I completely understand the Thanksgiving thing. You want to celebrate part of your culture, and you want to celebrate it by, doing this thing, even without remembering the atrocities. Yeah, sure, do what you want, whitewash your history, but from a Canadian point of view, it's literally like, oh, we just decided to have this holiday this day for no apparent reason. Like there's no
extra holidays. Can't argue with that.
Yeah, it's like, oh well, we need a national holiday. How about now? Wonderful. And like that's like all Canadian holidays. Like you've got Labor Day, which is literally just a day to not labor. Then you've got Canada Day, which is just a day for Canada. It's nothing really to do with anything. Maybe somebody signed a piece of paper.
Hang on. You can't even wear Canadian flags as capes, can you?
Probably not.
Because that's what they do in Australia for Australia Day. That makes it worth it. Like, if you could wear the Canadian flag as a cape and get really drunk, then yeah, sure, that's justified. But no, you're right. If you can't do that, then it's completely,
One thing I did learn in Calgary is if you have your shorts off and you're walking around, because I used to do it in like the second year when it was really warm in the summer, you can get done for public indecency. So yeah.
That's so weird.
It's like it's literally like, no, I just got a shirt off. No. You're a threat to the public. You're hurting their mentality. Like
obscenity.
Oh yeah, and then you've got Family Day in Canada, which is once again just a random day made up. Like at least the British holidays have like things behind them. There's reasons why they exist.
Exactly.
Yeah. But
Britain's
yeah.
good.
Well, Britain's wonderful.
Unless for being on holiday. Don't go on holiday. It's crap.
Yeah, don't
I'm the
go.
exact opposite of Tiger. Stay away from England. Unless you go to the Lake District, that's pretty okay, I guess.
Yeah, England's not great for holidays, and if you want work as well, it's pretty bad for that too. But everything else, it's okay. So
Yeah, like food.
Yeah, it's good for food. Great for food. A lot of food in the UK.
It's rather counterintuitive to a lot of Europeans that I've talked to, because they all seem to think they're awful food. But
Well, yeah, but they
they're
eat
wrong.
weird things. Like, I mean, the fact that when you're French and the best thing you're known for is eating frogs and eating snails.
Snails.
Like it's and then horse meat as well. Like,
Yeah.
and they tell us we are the ones who have the weird food. Like, yeah, all right.
I think we can
Whatever.
all agree that Japan is the one with the weird food.
Japan is definitely
I mean,
the odd one out.
their bar snack is raw horse meat and cartilage. Like, what are you doing? It's like, seriously, what are you doing? Like, that's your bar snack. You've got something wrong going on here.
Oh yeah, forgot about that one.
Oh dear me. Yep. Oh, no one's that bad.
Like, at least we
No.
have, like, pork scratchings and things like that. That make a little bit more sense.
Yeah. Yeah. I cannot understand, talking about, like, strange pork products, I cannot understand biltong. Like, what is good about biltong?
What's biltong?
Beef jerky or pork jerky. Jerky is biltong.
Oh, okay. Oh, what? So, like, basically dried meat, which has been cured and stuff.
I don't know. I'm just not a fan of biltong.
No, I can understand that. Like, I mean, I suppose when the main reason why it exists is to preserve it, so it's not supposed to have like the fullest of flavor. But at the same time, if people see that as a delicacy, I mean, it's time to rethink your life, I think. How do you feel about shellfish? Yeah. What do you think, Eurus?
Shellfish?
Yeah, shellfish.
Well, sometimes they make me sick, but other times they're very delicious. So.
Yeah, it's really hit and miss. I mean, whenever I've eaten it in places like England, it's been okay. But over here, there is a stark difference between, am I going to be healthy after this, or am I just, is this cheap enough that I can justify that it's going to annihilate me for 2 days, or is this expensive enough to kind of enjoy? Yeah, it's not,
because
like
I like scallops and stuff like that, but I have found that at least my track record in the past is that I generally tend to avoid like mussels because they were always the ones that seem to make me sick. So
I had mates who used to eat those things raw just constantly, and I don't know, they're weird.
No, I can't.
People from Hull are just weird. They just do odd
Listen,
things.
PSA guys, don't eat a sea slug. It sucks.
What is a sea slug?
Well, it's a slug-like creature that lives
Of
in the
the
sea,
sea?
and it's
Oh.
awful. Yeah,
Totally.
and it's awful. It looks like it looks really colourful, right?
Yeah.
Except it tastes like old car tyres. Well, at least what I imagine old car tyres would taste like if I haven't eaten an old car tyre.
God damn.
So yeah,
That sounds
That's the
absolutely
consistency.
disgusting.
and it is. So like I said, PSA, guys, don't eat it. It's bad.
It's gonna be interesting when we like get to, like there's areas of the ocean that we haven't discovered. It's gonna be real interesting if we find like things to eat down there, like what that's gonna taste like. It's probably gonna taste absolutely horrible.
The interesting thing is, it'll probably look so terrifying, nobody will want to eat it.
Oh, that's
Right?
true. Yeah.
Because like giant spider crabs, right? They're really common, and they're really like good for you, but they look terrifying and they sound terrifying, so no one ever buys them. Like ever. No,
Yeah.
seriously, because if you're uninitiated and you see giant spider crab, on a menu, you're probably like, I'll give that a miss. Like,
Yeah, yeah, I'm all right.
and you might see a picture of it. It's like, that is like a giant spider. So, and then you're like, probably not that appetizing, but there's tons of them, and they're good for you. So, at least that's what I imagine. If we get like deep sea food, it'll be so strange looking that people won't want to eat it.
Just a bunch of really terrifying things. Yeah. No, I definitely, I do agree with that. I think, I think I think people will like try it like once, and then they'll probably say that it's really bad, even if it isn't, and then they'll just because it'll be so expensive because of how you'll have to like get it and shit, that I think people would just be so jaded from the price of it, even if it is quite nice to eat. Well, we'll see. We might have to get to that level at some point.
Looking forward to Boxing Day, because I think we're going to be having beef, which means I can crack open my horseradish collection.
You have a horseradish collection?
A collection of different tasting horseradishes.
I actually used to have a marmalade collection, which was kind of nice. And the reason why I picked it up is because a lot of... so marmalade doesn't really exist in Canada.
What?
Yeah, I know. Weird, right? And
That's so weird.
And so I picked up like a bundle of them. And so, different mates could actually try it out. And everybody I've, talked to or given it to has really liked it. But it's just not really a common thing here.
That's so weird.
Yeah, I know. And it can't be hard to do. Why are you collecting food and? Only they. So they are lemon curds, but they're not the type of lemon curds that you'll be used to, because they have like an Asian spin on them. So yes, but no. And Birdie says, "Why are you collecting food instead of eating it?"
Listen. It's so we can stare at it and then only crack it open for special occasions.
You can't eat jars of horseradish at a time.
I could quite easily eat jars of horseradish at a time. By the spoonful. But that would be bad. Because it goes better in sandwiches and in mash and with beef.
Oh, I've never tried it with mash. That's a good shout, actually.
It's good. That. It's good. Yeah.
I should definitely try that.
I highly recommend. But maybe I am a bit biased because I absolutely love horseradish. Oh, so good. How many different horseradishes do I have in here? 6?
6 different horseradishes.
Yeah, and unfortunately,
is that your
none of them are hot enough.
Is that your opening line on a date? Hey, yes, I do have 6
check out
horseradishes.
my 6 different types of horseradish.
Yeah.
Well, no, I couldn't open with that because I'm so ashamed that I do not have a spicy enough horseradish.
They must make one which has I don't know, some weird chili in it or something.
Well, probably, but I haven't found it yet.
Because what?
What ended up happening is I used to not be that into spicy foods. I used to be more into hot things. I used to be into more mild ones.
Yes.
But then on a fateful day, I had I went to Slovenia, and I had some really, really, really hot sauce without realizing it because I couldn't read the label. And that ruined my taste buds forever. So now I only eat really, really hot things. And everyone else is sweating and then, their nose is dripping. They're like, how are you eating this? I'm like, this is not hot. Please give me back my taste buds. But alas,
God damn it.
Yeah.
Yeah, cause...
I think it was over 1 million Scoville sauce I had.
Jesus. Yeah, so you pretty much just burnt off everything.
Oh, yeah.
Nothing is there anymore.
No. I mean, it wasn't like a California Reaper or anything. Jeez, like it was pretty hot. So, yeah.
What's wrong with horse meat? I mean, nothing's wrong with it. It's just horses.
No, I'd eat horse meat.
Yeah, I mean, I've had horse meat in the past. It's just the majority of people in Britain see them as pets or see them as, things to have but not to eat. So it's very much looked down upon by a lot of people, at least from where I was from, when it came to it.
Which is weird because you'd eat a fish, but fish are also pets. So
that's true, but you're not going to eat a goldfish, are you? Like, there's not a lot of meat on a goldfish.
If it was fat enough, I'd eat it. In fact, you would eat a goldfish, because goldfish, aren't they just basically carp?
Very small carp.
Yeah, but I mean, they can grow to be massive carp.
We've got to do an experiment here.
Yeah.
See if we
Eat
can,
a goldfish.
See if we can grow a goldfish to a carp.
Yeah.
So, 10-year-old horseradish. Ooh.
I like horseradish. Horseradish is so good.
How long is I was gonna say how long is the life expectancy of horseradish?
That's a very good question. At least from my experience, not very long because I eat it. So.
Because like most things like that last a decent amount of time, as long as you keep them closed. But obviously, people want to eat them. Like I've had certain berry jams for about 2 years now that I got like for Christmas a few years ago. So
that is the problem with jams and chutneys, is that you, at least I find, I generally don't eat them fast enough to stop them from multiplying. And then you just end up with a cupboard full of 10,000 jars of chutneys and jams.
Yeah, like I do definitely have a few jars where it's like, why do I have this? Like I have like a whiskey cranberry and gooseberry jam, and it doesn't taste good. It tastes horrific, but I'm not gonna get rid of it because there might be a point where I'm like, you know what? I want some whiskey, cranberry, and gooseberry jam.
Yeah.
And that is just how it is, and that is just how it will be from now on going forward. Anyway, do you have anything as a last comment for the stream, since you're going to be the last caller in? Anything that you want to say or want to finish on, Eurus?
Yes. There are 7 days left to submit entries to the Tech Hub art competition. We have 3 prizes.
Yours needs to talk about AB.
No, I don't need to talk about arcade battles at the moment, but we have 1 grand prize of 2,500 golden eagles and 2 runner-up prizes of 1,000 golden eagles. So if you want to enter, still have time. It's on the Tech Hub Christmas art contest. You can read the rules there in the pinned message.
And we've had some wonderful stuff put in, and I'm sure we will have a lot more going forward. But make sure, to put your entry in. You never know what may happen. I definitely think it's worth doing it. The prizes are GE, of course, Golden Eagles. And also, we have a bunch of giveaways going on the Discord too for the Christmas period. So make sure to check them out. Make sure that you all have a wonderful Christmas period as well. If I don't hear from you before, the Christmas period happens or, anything like that, I hope you all have a wonderful and Merry Christmas and also a Happy New Year to you all. It's been a really great year. We'll do a bit of a recap at it at a later date, but right now, from me and from these 2 guys as well, have a wonderful time.